Hello, welcome to the show. Welcome to Not Just Nintendo. This is a bonus episode that is a re-upload from my YouTube channel. So for some of you guys, that's right here on YouTube. For other people that watch on Spotify or Amazon, this is totally a thing you haven't seen before. This is a top 50 list that I made for the 5-year anniversary of my YouTube channel. I hope you enjoy. I thought it was a fantastic video, and I figured some podcast listeners might want it in audio version. So here goes. Coming in at number 50, just barely scraping onto the list, we have an excellent game, because every game on this list, all 50 of them, are excellent. Obviously, I think number 1 is substantially better than number 50, but there's still plenty of games that I thought were pretty good that couldn't make it on this list. So at number 50, we have a game that I beat on May 30th, 2024, so it's been a little over a year. That game is Ubisoft's 2007 Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed, I played this on the Xbox 360, actually on the Series X, but I played the Xbox 360 version, and Assassin's Creed is obviously the first game in the Assassin's Creed series. That's why it doesn't have any sort of subtitle, and Assassin's Creed is a phenomenal Assassin's Creed game. From all I've seen, having not played the other ones just yet, it seems like Assassin's Creed does a lot of things that the later games abandoned. I love the climbing mechanics, the free running on top of buildings, I love the combat with the blocking. It felt it took a lot of tactility. There was a lot of stuff like, the guy who would swing at you and you would have to dodge or guard, and you'd have to strike right at the right time. It felt like a very skilled combat. The story was interesting. The story is not usually my main thing in a video game. I'm usually not specifically looking for a story, but I did enjoy the story in Assassin's Creed. And I mean, really, at the end of the day, you're an assassin and you're following a creed, so go figure, right? But yes, Assassin's Creed, squeaking in at number 50. It's a great game. I definitely recommend it. Number 49, we have the first platformer of the list, specifically a 2D platformer. If you don't know my game taste, you'll know after watching this video that I am very much into platformers. In fact, about 56% of this list, depending on if you count something as a platformer, are platformers. So that is definitely my favorite genre. But the worst one out of the top 50, obviously there's platformers that didn't make it on, is 1989 Nintendo's Super Mario Land. This, of course, is one of the two 2D Marios, the other one being Super Mario Land 2, on the Game Boy. And I did actually play this game on a Game Boy, on the original Game Boy, partially because it's cool, but also because when I played this last year, it actually wasn't on the Nintendo Switch Online service yet. It was actually just like a month or two later that they ended up adding it on there. So I beat this game on April 9th, 2024. Took me about 2.5 hours because I kept getting game overs, and if you don't have the Nintendo Switch Online version of this game, it can actually be a little tricky. Of course, there's only like 13 levels or so it's easy in that aspect, but, the levels can be pretty tricky, especially towards the end there, if you don't have the save states and stuff, because you can get game overs, you only have a few lives. Obviously, there's a lot of weird things that are unlike other 2D Mario games about Super Mario Land. They're like, the fire flower is different, it bounces around and hits off walls and stuff. Obviously it's black and white because it's on the Game Boy. There's bunch of different weird enemies, different weird bosses. You fly in a plane. I mean, there's just a lot of strange things about Super Mario Land because it was so, technically, they were working on hardware that was much weaker than the other Mario games, so they had to do a bunch of weird stuff to kind of make it work. And for that reason, Super Mario Land is a great game, even though mechanically it doesn't really hold up very well, and it's also on the Game Boy, and most games on the Game Boy I don't like. But yes, bad respect to Super Mario Land. It's a great game, especially considering its limitations, and I recommend that everybody, especially if you're a fan of Mario or platformers, play it. Number 48, we have a game that I have played far more recently. In fact, I believe it is the game on this list that I have played most recently. And that is, of course, 2009 Sucker Punch's Infamous. Sucker Punch, of course, being the studio that also made Rocket Robot on Wheels on 64, and then all the Sly Cooper games, then all the Infamous games, and then, of course, more recently, the Ghost of series. Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yotoi. This game is on PS3, and that is where I played it, on the PS3. Sucker Punch Punch is a superhero video game, but unlike most that have licensed properties, Sucker Punch has its own unique character, made up its own unique character, sorry. Your superpowers are hinged on lightning. They're lightning-based. As you progress through the game, you unlock many more lightning-based abilities. One of the main mechanics of the game is there are these karma points where you can do actions to make yourself more heroic or more evil, and those paths kind of affect the story, and they affect what abilities you can unlock. There are lots of collectibles in this open world, and I actually collected most of the collectibles. I very much enjoyed this open world, even though I generally don't. It is in a city that is loosely based off New York City. It's in 3 different boroughs, and as you go through the game, you'll unlock the different areas. And towards the end of the game, you have to move between the 3 pretty often. Infamous is a game that kind of took me by surprise. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did, and I'm looking to start the second one pretty soon, so maybe next time it can feature on this list. But for now, we're just here with Infamous 1. Coming in at number 47, a fan favorite that might get me stabbed for putting it this low. We have 1994 Nintendo's Super Metroid. I have, of course, played this game on the Super Nintendo Switch Online service, and here's the thing. I originally tried this game a couple of years ago now, and I really hated it, even though I had heard that it was supposed to be one of the greatest games of all time. And so I tried it again earlier this year after playing a couple other Metroid games, and I actually found to appreciate its amazing game design, its great mechanical feel, the mastery of its movement, its impressive boss fights, incredible soundtrack, and unrivaled atmosphere. That said, it is still not my favorite Metroid game. So, spoilers for later, but there's actually 2 more Metroid games later higher up this list. But I know Metroid fans will not be happy at me for putting this low down, but at least be happy that it made it on the list, unlike games like Super Mario Odyssey. I beat this game on March 7th, 2025, in a total of about 8 hours. Coming in at number 46, we have a game that probably shouldn't be on this list, but it's really funny. This, of course, is 2023 Sega's The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. If you haven't heard of this game and you're like, what? I can totally understand, because when I first heard about this game, that's exactly what I said as well. This is a free game on Steam, and I believe it's on the other stores as well, like the Epic Game Store and GOG Galaxy. The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog is a visual novel, like Ace Attorney, surrounding literally the mystery of the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. And I've got to say, it is hilariously funny and just insanely stupid, and that's why I love it. And so, I just had to put it on this list. Maybe it shouldn't be above things like Infamous and Assassin's Creed and Super Mario Land, but I don't know, man, it's great. Everyone should play it. This, of course, was not made by the regular Sonic team. This was actually made by Sega's social media team, which makes this even funnier. I beat this game on October 14th in about 2 hours, 15 minutes. Coming in at number 45, we have a game that I actually haven't played in probably 3 or 4 years, and that is 2019 Nintendo's Super Mario Maker 2. I don't think this game needs much introduction. I think pretty much everybody knows what Mario Maker is, and especially the second one on the Nintendo Switch. I used to make a bunch of my own levels, even though they were all bad and way over difficult, and I would just put invisible blocks and stuff. And I remember watching a bunch of Twitch streams and having people play my levels, and they were all trying to be super nice to me because I was super young and my levels kind of sucked. But I also definitely enjoyed going through and playing random levels and looking at the different categories and playing the newest and the hottest levels. And I'm definitely excited for a Mario Maker 3 of some kind on Switch 2, and I think we'll get it. But for now, I just felt like Mario Maker had to be represented here on this list, so I put it down at 45 because I haven't played it in quite a few years, and it's just not something that I am aching to go back to. But I enjoyed my time with it. At number 44, we have a game that I almost forgot to put on the list, but is very great. That game is 2017 Ubisoft's Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. This is one of the first 2 games I got when I got my Switch back in 2017, and I played it a lot. Not quite as much as Super Mario Odyssey, the other game I got, but I did play it quite a bit in that first year. Never quite beat it, but I believe I got quite close. And then I put it up for quite a few years, came back at some point in 2021, played a little bit more of it, restarted, played a little bit of it, and then finally, towards the end of 2023, shortly before I started tracking the games I beat, and when I started listening to podcasts about video games, I started to play this game, and I have very fond memories of it. I thought it was an awesome game. I think it helps that I was just getting into listening to podcasts, and I was loving it. But yes, I think this game is well designed. The jokes don't always land because they're very childish, but at times they still can. I think it's a very good tactics RPG, and I don't think Sparks of Hope is nearly as good, but I do need to give Sparks of Hope another chance. The levels are well designed, and the collectibles are fun to find, but I didn't find myself wanting to find every collectible, just every one I could. And I will say, the levels after the main game, like the extra levels, are frickin' impossible. I didn't even bother doing them. They're very difficult. You have to be very tactical and very logical to be able to do those, and I think I am to a point, but I probably could have done them if I had spent enough time. I was just ready to move on and play other games. So I beat this most recently, and actually for the first time I beat it in December 2023. I don't have the exact data. Number 43, we have another platformer. This, of course, is 2010 Retro Studios' Donkey Kong Country Returns. Now, I'm a big Donkey Kong Country fan. I've played all the games, and all but one of them are on this list, so I guess you're just going to have to wait and find out which one's missing. The Donkey Kong Country Returns is the lowest of the ones I put on this list, because, you know, it's not like the old ones. I think the platforming and the level design was a little bit better, especially in 1 and 3. I guess I kind of just gave away which one's on the list. And I think the level design is once again better in Tropical Freeze. I think Country Returns is kind of the weird one in the middle where maybe Retro Studios wasn't totally with it yet. I still think Donkey Kong Country Returns is a fantastic game. I played this on Wii, not on Switch, because it actually wasn't even on Switch when I played it. I beat it on June 19th, 2024 in about 9 hours. And yeah, this is definitely a fantastic platformer, but it's not my favorite Donkey Kong Country game, so I'll talk more about Donkey Kong Country later. Number 42, we have our first indie game. That, of course, is 2010 Playdead's Limbo. Limbo is kind of another platformer. This is one of the ones that I said was kind of a platformer, because it is sort of a platformer. It's a puzzle platformer. This was one of the earlier indie games that really opened the door to a lot of indie games that have done well since. And I think it's something that deserves a lot of respect, and it actually still holds up quite well today, although admittedly less so when you play inside. But it's still a great game with a lot of great puzzles, with a great atmosphere, considering it's all black and white. Like, I really enjoy the black and white with kind of the eerie, sort of creepy at times vibe they've got going on. It's not like a horror game or anything by any means, but it's got some weird, unsettling things that happen. And I'm not going to really spoil anything. Not that there's like a ton to be spoiled, but there's some interesting things that happen. I won't spoil any of the puzzles either, although, like, if you haven't noticed, I'm trying to keep it brief on each game here anyway. Yeah, Limbo, one of my favorite indies. I was actually quite blown away when I played it. It was one of the earlier indies I played last year. I beat it on August 26th in about 3 hours 45 minutes on Switch. I bought it on Switch because it was on sale at that time, and also because I prefer playing stuff on Switch over other consoles. Coming in at number 41, we have yet another platformer, this time a 3D platformer. That game is Crash Bandicoot, obviously the first one. I played this game last year through the Insane Trilogy on Xbox. I beat it on May 21st, 2024 in about 10 hours, 15 minutes. And yeah, this is my least favorite of the 4 Crash games. I think it's sometimes a little bit unnecessarily difficult. I guess that's kind of spoilers that the other 3 are on here. But overall, I still thought this was a solid platformer, and in a weird way, even though it is a 3D platformer, I actually thought it was a lot more like a game like Donkey Kong Country than it was like Mario 64, because it kind of feels, especially since they didn't have the camera stuff in 3D platformers figured out until Mario 64, it really felt like these Crash games, it almost felt like they weren't fully in 3D, even though they were, you know, they felt like 2D platformers mixed with 3D platformers. And so in general vibes and stuff, especially in the jungle and that, it felt actually quite a bit like a Donkey Kong Country, which I definitely thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm glad I played it through the Insane Trilogy. I would definitely recommend the Insane Trilogy. I would not really recommend the original version of this game. At number 40, we have yet another of my first indie games, that game being Toem. Now, a sequel to Toem was just announced at the Day of the Devs on Summer Games Fest just a month ago, and I was very happy about it because when I played Toem on October 19th in about 3 hours and 15 minutes, I thoroughly enjoyed the puzzly nature of it, but also the general vibes and the idea of a picture-taking based indie game. While I didn't do every puzzle in the game, I found myself doing far more than I needed to in most areas because I very much enjoyed the dialogue and the puzzle-solving aspects of this game. I played this game for free on the Epic Game Store as one of the Epic Game Store's free giveaways last year. At number 39, we have The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. This was actually the first Zelda game that I beat in January of 2024 in about 26.5 hours. And for those who have played this game, you'll know that that time is a little slow. That's because I went around doing a bunch of extra side quests and generally enjoying my time in the world. Obviously, Link's Awakening originally came out on the Game Boy in 1993, but I played the Grezzo remake on Switch from 2019. Link's Awakening has some of the best dungeons in the series, and while in some aspects it feels aged, in other aspects it feels very good. I feel that Link's Awakening did a lot to help 2D Zelda come back, and we ended up with Echoes of Wisdom out of it. So I'm very happy that Link's Awakening was remade, and I hope that we can continue to get more top-down Zelda remakes in the future. Number 38. Now, I'm generally not much of a fan of online or multiplayer games, especially online multiplayer games, but 2018, Nintendo, Sora, and Bandai Namco's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was a bit of an exception when it came out. I didn't buy it immediately, but I bought it pretty quickly, and I played over 600 hours of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, I'm sure a lot of people have played far more, but again, as somebody who doesn't play much online and doesn't play a whole lot of multiplayer stuff, I think that's actually quite impressive that that game had enough of an impact on me. For those who are wondering, I originally mained Little Mac, and I quickly switched after I found out how garbage he was. I haven't played Smash in many years, but I have to admit that this is a very good game, and if I didn't want to play tons of games, and I didn't want to beat a lot of single-player stuff, I would probably still play Smash Ultimate to this day, and when the next Smash Bros. Comes out, whether it's this generation or next, I will definitely be picking that up on day one. Again, I've played somewhere in the ballpark of 600 hours of this, between the years of 2018 and 2023 probably is when I last have played it. Number 37, we have yet another 2D platformer, yet another Mario 2D platformer. This game is Super Mario Bros. 3. This was released in 1998 in Japan, but in 1990 here in the United States, or in North America. Super Mario Bros. 3 has superb level design that holds up even today, and is better than some of the modern 2D Marios. It's undeniably impressive looking at Super Mario Bros. 1 and Super Mario Bros. 3, and trying to imagine that they're on the same console. The amount of knowledge of the hardware that this took to create is infinitely impressive and will be for all of time. This game is also fun most of the way through, but I do think that World 8 can be a little bit annoying and quite challenging if you don't have a lot of your clouds and your P-Wings saved up. I've gone back and forth between this game and Super Mario World being better, but right now, how I'm feeling at this moment after playing both of these games pretty recently, replaying both of these games pretty recently, I think I would have to go with Super Mario Bros. 3 being the worst of the two. But that's not to say it's a bad game, it's still phenomenal, and I think everybody should play it, even if you're not, like, a fan of old games. Coming in at number 36, guess what genre it is? Take a guess! It's another 3D platformer, this time Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. I again play this as part of the Insane trilogy, and I would recommend anybody who wants to play this game do the same. This game was originally released in 1997 by Naughty Dog on the original PlayStation, but I played it, like I said, on the Xbox through the Insane trilogy. Crash 2 adds quite a few new mechanics within levels, and it also adds a new ability for Crash where he can slide along the ground, Kirby style. Once again, everything I said about Crash 1 still stands, except I do think this game is easier and a lot less daunting than Crash 1, because Crash 1 could be quite difficult, and especially if you're not crazy good at platformers, because I think I'm pretty good at platformers, I think Crash 1 could be quite challenging. It challenged me quite a bit as well. But overall, it's a much better game. I beat it on June 18th in about 5 hours. 35, you already guessed it. It's another platformer, this time a 2D one. It is Kirby's Dream Land 3. I played through all of the classic Kirby games over the last couple years, from Kirby's Dream Land through Kirby 64, and this is one of my favorites, that's why it's on this list. This game originally came out in 1997 on the Super Nintendo, which is interesting because the 64 was already out, but that's what happened a lot, especially with Kirby, but with lots of games on Super Nintendo, they came out very late in the generation. Kirby's Dream Land 3 feels honestly nothing like Kirby's Dream Land 1 and 2. I think it should have been titled Kirby's Adventure 2. I think that would have made more sense, because because it actually feels a lot more like the NES game, Kirby's Adventure, than it does like the Game Boy games, Kirby's Dream Land and Kirby's Dream Land 2. Regardless, that's what it's called, and it's a very good game with great level design, a great vibe, and a fantastic art style that still holds up very well today. And as a 2D platformer, I would definitely recommend it. It's on Nintendo Switch Online, that's where I played it, and I beat it on May 12th, 2024, in about 3 hours, 15 minutes. You already know, number 34, it's another 2D platformer, this time Donkey Kong Country, the original. Released in 1994 by Rare and Nintendo on the Super Nintendo, I played this game on Nintendo Switch Online. But I have played it on the original cartridge on Super Nintendo quite a few times, I just never beat it back then. I was introduced to this game for the first time when I was very young, and I've had fond memories of it since. I beat this game for the first time on March 11th, 2024 in about 3 hours. I know a lot of people are familiar with this game, and I know this game gets a lot of hype, but it does deserve it, and I recommend everybody play it. I know it can be a little difficult, so use the save states on Nintendo Switch Online. But honestly, I think it's worth powering through because the game is fantastic. At number 33, we do not have another platformer. This time we have another Zelda game, this one being The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now I know a lot of people would probably put this as their number one. In fact, I've seen many similar lists with Breath of the Wild always in the top 5. So this might be a little bit strange, maybe a little blasphemous for me to put it this low down in my list, but I really just don't love the open world in Breath of the Wild, and I think that classic 3D Zelda is better. Now, I'm still playing a lot of those classic 3D Zeldas. I haven't beat tons of them, but when I do play them, I enjoy them more than Breath of the Wild. So Breath of the Wild is still a great game, and it'll probably stay in my top 50 for a long time, but I do imagine it'll get squeezed out eventually. But I don't think it's quite as good as a lot of people let on. And I'm sure I'm the crazy one here, it probably really is that good, and I just have a weird opinion, but I really just don't have that same sense of wonder when I play Breath of the Wild that it seems most people do. So put the pitchforks away, just be glad that it got on the top 50. Overall, I think Breath of the Wild, in comparison to the old games, has lackluster puzzles and dungeons. I don't really particularly love the open world, although I'll admit, as far as open world games go, it is probably the best open world. I just don't love open worlds. The combat feels less precise, but there are a lot of things you can do that you couldn't do in the old games using your Sheikah Slate abilities, so I've got to give it credit there. Overall, very good game, mediocre Zelda game. I played this game for the first time in 2018, but I actually, because I came back to it so many times, I probably started this game 12 to 15 times, and I just kept bouncing off of it until I finally forced myself to beat it on July 22nd, 2024. It's more than 6 years after I first played the game, in about 27 hours and 15 minutes, because I avoided most of the open world things. Number 32, we have another kind of 2D platformer, kind of like Limbo. This game being called just Donkey Kong, but it's not the arcade one, it's the Game Boy one, and so it's commonly known as Donkey Kong 94 because it was originally released in 1994. This game is one that I had heard for a long time was one of the best games on Game Boy and was a phenomenal game, and I was pretty skeptical because most games on Game Boy are less than phenomenal, if we're being honest with ourselves. Game Boy games have not aged very well. But I've got to say, if you have the same skepticism as me, try this game. It is incredible. Like, honestly, it's pure joy, pure fun. It's very well thought out. It takes some reasoning ability, but it's also not unbelievably challenging. It is an amazing game. One of the best games on Game Boy. I think it's probably my second favorite Game Boy game, because I don't really count Link's Awakening because I prefer it, like, I played it on Switch, and I feel that if I played it on Game Boy, I probably wouldn't like it as much. So for me, Donkey Kong 94 is probably the second best Game Boy game, and it's way better than I would have expected, and I think everybody should play it. It just got added to Switch Online this year, and that's when I played it. That's pretty much the day after it got dropped is when I played it for the first time, which was on March 30th in 3 hours, 45 minutes. At number 31, we have back-to-back puzzle platformers, this one being 2016 Playdad's Inside. This is another one of the earlier indie games I played. I played it just after Limbo, and I've got to say, after playing Limbo, I was like, man, I think I'm going to prefer Limbo to Inside. But then I actually got around to playing Inside, and oh my gosh, no. Inside is far better, and people have been shouting about how great Inside is for literally 9 years now, and I have been hearing it for quite a few years myself, and I don't know, I was just never too into indie games, but now that I've been getting into indie games, Inside is definitely one of my favorites. Inside has an appealing visual art style, as well as an appealing atmosphere. I guess actually in some ways a not appealing atmosphere, but a well-made atmosphere, with some of the greatest underwater mechanics I've seen in a game, and a fantastic last hour or so to the game that was totally unexpected and awesome, that I've heard some people not like, but I personally really enjoyed it. I beat this game on August 28th, 2024 in about 3.5 hours. Number 30, we have not a platformer for once. This time we have Spider-Man Miles Morales. This was a launch game in 2020 on the PS5 by Insomniac, and at the very end of last year, 2024, and in the very beginning of this year, 2025, I played through all 3 of the Spider-Man games, and I enjoyed them all very much. I've gone back and forth quite a bit between which of the first 2, Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales, I enjoyed more, and for the purposes of this list, I put Miles Morales higher, but there could be situations in which I preferred the first one. Comparing the 2, I actually prefer the story. I think it's more well developed in the first game, Spider-Man on PS4, but Spider-Man Miles Morales takes it because it's shorter and more bite-sized, while still being able to tell a pretty compelling story. The mechanics are slightly improved. It feels a little bit better to web sling around, which it always felt great. But then here's the main thing as well. In Miles Morales, I did 100% of the collectibles, and I got 100% map completion. The only thing I didn't do was the New Game Plus stuff, but that's not even part of 100%. Whereas in Spider-Man on the PS4, I did most everything, but there were a couple things that I didn't like doing, like the Taskmaster challenges. So because the extra content I felt was stronger in Miles Morales, I'm gonna give the point to Miles Morales here, and it makes it on this list while the first game does not. Overall, all 3 of these games are fantastic. I have it physically, I have Miles physically, and with Miles, you get the first game for free, which works out really nicely, and I would definitely recommend, if you have a PS5 or even a PC now, because these games are on PC, play through these Spider-Man games. They're fantastic. I beat this game on January 4th in about 12 hours 15 minutes with 100% completion. At 29, we have another PlayStation game, because I'm not actually a Nintendo fan, I'm a Sony pony in disguise. But it's also a platformer. This game is actually sort of a tech demo as well for the PS5. That game is, of course, 2020 Asobi's Astro Playroom. Astro's Playroom, even if it's kind of a tech demo for the PS5, can definitely stand as its own game, and even if it came out on its own, standalone, I definitely would have bought it, because man, this game is fantastic. It is honestly one of the better 3D platformers I've played. It's not up there with some of the Mario ones, and I think there's 1 or 2 more up on this list as well, but it's definitely pretty high up there on the list of platformers I've played. I still need to finish Astrobot, and then maybe that can actually surpass it, and maybe that can be on my next top 50, but for now, Astro's Playroom definitely deserves its spot here on this list. There are so many cool, innovative things that Sony does, and I've got to say, this game feels very Nintendo-y. This honestly feels like it could have been a 3D Mario game in disguise. I really wish Nintendo had done something similar to this, like with Mario on Switch 2 as a tech demo for free, but obviously, you know, we got Welcome Tour instead, so we're all set, right? And that wasn't even free. No, I'm kidding. But anyways, it was fantastic. I loved the level where you had to roll the ball. Astro goes into a ball and you roll him along with the touchpad, monkey ball style. I loved the level where you're a rocket ship and you have to use the pressure-sensitive analog triggers. I mean, honestly, everything about this game was fantastic. I loved it, and I don't know why I got away from Astrobot, because I was loving that too, but I need to get back to it. I guess I've just played less of the PS5 lately. I actually talked to a couple people with a PS5 that have never played this game. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it's free. Even if you're not a crazy platformer guy, it is a free game that shows off the PS5. Who wouldn't play this? I don't understand. But anyways, enough said about this game. It's fantastic. Everybody should play it. I obviously beat this on PS5 on December 25th, the day I got it, in about 3 hours or so. We have another game by Insomniac, this time 2014 Sunset Overdrive, which was an Xbox exclusive. If you didn't know that Insomniac made an Xbox exclusive, then you're not alone, because a lot of people don't seem to know about this game at all. This game is a fantastic open-world game that, in a lot of ways, is quite similar to the Spider-Man games, and I think it holds up right up there with them. This game has a lot of shooting elements, but it also has a lot of movement things, where, there's a lot of options to move around very quickly. There's grinding on rails, there's boosting in the air, there's the ability to dive onto bouncy objects, and lots of the game is based on traversal. Sunset Overdrive is a game that doesn't get enough credit, feels well polished, breaks the fourth wall all the time, and is hilariously funny, that I think everybody should play. I beat this game on August 6th, 2024 in about 10 hours and 15 minutes. Oh, you thought we might be done with platformers? Guess what? We're not, because at number 27 is Super Mario World. Now, I mentioned Super Mario World earlier when I was talking about Super Mario Bros. 3, and yes, I do think Super Mario World is a little bit better than Super Mario Bros. 3, because I think it stays fantastic throughout, whereas Super Mario 3 has some bad moments. Like, towards the end of the game there, I don't think World 8 is very good. I think there's some problems, especially in the last couple of worlds. Super Mario World does a lot of great things to improve on Super Mario Bros. 3. It obviously looks visually more appealing. It adds in Yoshi, although, to be honest, I don't really love Yoshi in this game, but I think this is definitely the best implementation of Yoshi. I think basically every other Mario game, Yoshi is a hindrance to the gameplay, whereas in this one, he helps. I still think there's more they could have done with him, though. On top of that, the Cape Feather adds a power-up that is very fun to use, but also has a very high skill ceiling to use properly, and that's definitely awesome. And like I said, the level design, I think, generally speaking, I think it's actually pretty similar to Super Mario Bros. 3. I think in some ways, Mario Bros. 3 does things better. In some ways, Mario World does things better, but I think Super Mario World is just a little bit more consistent. Maybe it has lower highs, but it definitely has higher lows as well. So I think generally, it's a more well-rounded experience, it's much easier to beat, and it's more welcoming. This game was originally released in 1991 for the Super Nintendo. Well, in Japan, actually, I think in Japan it came out in 1990, but I haven't checked. I beat this game for the first time on March 9th, 2024, in about 3 hours, 45 minutes. Number 26, we have two 2D Marios back to back. This one is Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins for the Game Boy. This was originally released in 1992. A lot like Super Mario Land 1 on the Game Boy, this game has very good level design. I think it's actually far better. In fact, I think it's the best level design of all of the classic 2D Mario games. And it has a lot of weird and unique enemies and boss fights like Super Mario Land original. I will say it's really cool having these other two Game Boy 2D Mario games that are completely different than the four main games on NES and Super Nintendo. I'd say the weird power-up that's most analogous to the Super Ball in Super Mario Land is the carrot in Super Mario Land 2, where you turn into a rabbit that can fly pretty much infinitely across levels, which sounds really broken, and it is, but it's also really fun, so, you take what you can get. It's honestly, it's crazy impressive. It's actually, I would say it's just as impressive what Nintendo managed to do with the hardware of the Game Boy for Super Mario Land 2 as it is what they managed to do with the hardware of the NES for Super Mario Bros. 3. In both instances, when you look at the first game on NES and the last game on NES, and you look at the first game on Game Boy and the last game on Game Boy, they both improved dramatically, and they were able to very much take advantage of the hardware they had built. I love Super Mario Land 2. A lot of people haven't played it that have played other 2D Mario games, so what are you doing? It's on Switch Online. That's where I played it. I beat it on March 11th, 2024, in about an hour 45 minutes. It's a very short game. And we have reached the halfway mark. If you're still watching and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Go subscribe, please. Now, number 25, we have Firewatch. Firewatch was released in 2016 by Campo Santo Productions. This is another indie game. I believe it is the indie game that is highest on this list. It's a very narrative-focused game with puzzle aspects, and like I said, it's very story-focused as well. It's an older indie game. A lot of people have played it. A lot of people have talked about it for a long time, but I don't think quite enough people have talked about it, because because it really is incredible. I would recommend playing this on Game Pass or waiting until it goes on sale, because it does seem to go on sale quite a bit. But yes, this game, I guess, would be defined as a walking simulator, and there is a lot of walking that goes on. But yeah, early on in the game, it's pretty light, you know, the themes are very light, but it's quite fun. But then later on in the game, it gets a little darker, and it's pretty impactful by the end, I would say, and pretty mysterious as well. This is definitely an amazing game. I think everybody should play it, and it's my favorite indie game. I played this on Xbox Game Pass, and I beat it on October 13th, 2024, in about 3 hours, 45 minutes. Coming in at number 24, we have Donkey Kong Country 3. Now, Donkey Kong Country 3 improves on Donkey Kong Country 1 in lots and lots of ways. First of all, it looks visually way more impressive. And Donkey Kong Country 1 already looked amazing with Rare's 2.5D technology with 3D modeling. But Donkey Kong Country 3 takes it even a step further, and it looks incredible, even today. This game originally came out in 1996 by Rare and Nintendo on the Super Nintendo. I played this on Super Nintendo Switch Online. The level design, the world theming, and the world map is all improved from Donkey Kong Country 1, and the reason Donkey Kong Country 2 didn't make the cut on this list is because I felt that Donkey Kong Country 2 got to be way too difficult and always in an unfair way. When you die in Donkey Kong Country 2, it feels like you've been wronged by the game, whereas when you die in Donkey Kong Country 3 or in the original Donkey Kong Country, it feels like it was actually your fault. And I'll probably make a whole other video talking about Donkey Kong Country, the whole series, at some point, but for the sake of brevity, I'll leave it at that. So Donkey Kong Country 2 did not make the list, but the rest of the series did. I beat Donkey Kong Country 3 on April 28th, 2024 in about 3.5 hours. Coming in at number 23, we have another 2D platformer. Who would have thought, right? This time we have Rayman Legends, released in 2013 by Ubisoft Montpellier on all platforms at the time. Personally, I played it on Wii U because for those who don't know the complex history of Rayman Legends, I suggest you just look it up and don't listen to me because, man, this video can't be too long. It really can't be too long, so I don't want to get into it all here, but long story short, Rayman Legends was supposed to be a Wii U exclusive, and then because the Wii U failed so miserably, it got changed and it got put on all consoles, and it actually ended up coming to Wii U late. However, because of its history and its important ties with the Wii U, I wanted to play it on Wii U, and I definitely don't regret my choice because, wow, it definitely was designed for Wii U. Seeing some of the levels and stuff, like, you need the gamepad for some things. So if you didn't have the gamepad, the game would actually, I don't think it'd be as good. So I actually recommend playing this game on Wii U, or I guess possibly on Switch. I recommend those versions of the game. I guess the PlayStation version's probably fine because you could use the touchpad for some of the touch mechanics. I do not recommend the Xbox version though. That seems like it wouldn't work very well. But yes, Rayman Legends is an excellent 2D platformer. It combines levels from Rayman Origins and all new levels, and I really hope we get another Rayman game at some point. Rayman Legends is definitely one of my favorite 2D platformers, and I had to put it pretty high up this list. I beat this game on August 1st, 2024 in about 9 hours. Coming in at number 22, we have Bowser's Fury. Bowser's Fury was a side game mode in the Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury port to the Switch in 2021. So when they ported over Super Mario 3D World, they included this other game, Bowser's Fury, with it. And in some ways, Bowser's Fury actually surpasses 3D World itself. I love the openness of Bowser's Fury, and it's definitely an interesting idea to have an open world 3D Mario game. The only problem is it kind of falls short because it's so short, and it feels like a half-baked idea, and it was more of a tech demo or a prospect for a more open 3D Mario game, which perhaps we'll see some of those elements in Donkey Kong Bonanza, or we might have to wait until the next 3D Mario game. Who knows, honestly. But either way, this game is still awesome, and it's sort of a shame that some Nintendo purists didn't buy it because they already had Super Mario 3D World on Wii U. But all in all, I think this game is incredible. It's definitely one of the best games, but it's not one of the best 3D Mario games. It's kind of lower down for 3D Mario games because it's so short and because it doesn't feel fully realized. But I'm definitely excited to see if we could ever get something like this that is fully realized. I beat this for the first time back in 2021, shortly after it came out, but I 100%ed it for the first time and beat it most recently on April 30th, 2024, in about 5 hours, 15 minutes. Coming in at number 21, we have 2023 Insomniac's Spider-Man 2. Now, I know this is a slightly unpopular opinion, but I actually vastly prefer Spider-Man 2 to the other two games. I think Spider-Man 2, believe it or not, I actually think it has a far more compelling story. It's far more interesting. With my only real complaint for Spider-Man 2 being that some of the character designs changed and I don't like them quite as much. But yes, I know it's a little unpopular in opinion, but I actually vastly prefer the story, I prefer the mechanics, and all that in Spider-Man 2. I did all of the activities in the open world, just like I did with Spider-Man Miles Morales. I would say they're about equally good, and I'm very excited to see what Insomniac does next with their Spider-Man series. Spider-Man 2 is my personal favorite game in the series, and it's really not even that close for me. I beat this game on PS5 on January 13th, 2025 in 24 hours. Number 20, we have 2004 Nintendo's Metroid Zero Mission. This, of course, is a remake of the first Metroid game, technically, but it's actually very different in many ways from the first Metroid game, and honestly, I don't think hardly anybody would consider them the same game, even if it technically is a remake. It's more of a reimagining, if I were to say anything on it. Metroid Zero Mission, I vastly prefer Zero Mission to Super Metroid. I also play Zero Mission, or I beat Zero Mission first, and Zero Mission was the first Metroid game that I beat. I think Zero Mission is far more approachable and far easier because I think the movement is better, but I also think it's easier because the boss fights are easier and it's much easier to know where you're going. You don't get lost quite the same way you do in Super Metroid, or at least that's what I found myself. And after playing both of them, I think Metroid Zero Mission is leagues better than Super Metroid, and I don't quite understand the love for Super Metroid quite the same, because yeah, honestly, I think Zero Mission versus Super Metroid, it's not even close. And I've still got another Metroid game on this list, so you guys are probably wondering what it could be. But yeah, I'll probably make a whole nother video at some point talking about my Metroid opinions, but I probably should play all the games first, so I can kind of do it as a whole video. So that's where I'm at. I beat this game on February 18th, 2025 in about 5 hours, 15 minutes. 19 on this list, we have Animal Crossing, the GameCube version. This game came out in 2001 by Nintendo, obviously. And as far as Animal Crossing games go, it is my second favorite. Modern Animal Crossing games, especially New Horizons, don't hold a candle to the vibes, the general atmosphere, the dialogue, and the pure fun as the first Animal Crossing games. Personally, I much prefer this game to Wild World because I really don't like handheld games. And Wild World had such a distinct lack of holidays that I really can't give the edge to Wild World here, and I think most people that do are just nostalgic, because Wild World is definitely the most popular. You know, people complaining about new Animal Crossing, they're like, well, play Wild World. I'm like, I don't know. For me, it's GameCube or the one we'll get to pretty soon here. I actually played Animal Crossing for the original Animal Crossing, for the first time in December 2023. So this is definitely the Animal Crossing game that I've been introduced to most recently. I had actually played every game in the series except for this one when I first was introduced to this one, and I expected to not really like this as much as I did, but wow. If you want to play an Animal Crossing game, I would say play this one, play City Folk, or I guess possibly the latest one, just because it's the most accessible. I don't really like New Horizons much though, so I guess just don't even bother if you don't have old systems. So again, I played this for the first time December 23. I played it every day until March 2024, and I also did a short video series on it in October 2024, but obviously I don't have like hour counts. There's no such thing as beating an Animal Crossing game. Number 18, we have Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, released in 2000 for the Nintendo 64 by Nintendo and HAL Laboratories. This is my second favorite Kirby game, and while Kirby doesn't quite usually stand up to Mario for me, although I guess to be fair, I did put this game above a lot of the 2D Marios. While Kirby doesn't really usually stand up to Mario for me, I still very much enjoy Kirby platformers, and this is one of the best ones that I feel. The visual style with the 2.5D is very appealing. The boss fights were actually a little challenging at times, but the levels themselves were quite easy, so that was a weird difficulty balance, but I did enjoy it. And overall, I think the copy abilities, with the ability to combine two copy abilities to get a different ability, I thought it was a very well thought out and well-executed idea. I very much enjoyed this game, and I beat it this year rather than last year like I did with most of the Kirbys. I beat it on February 18th in about 4 hours, 15 minutes. Number 17, we have Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. This game was originally released in 1998 for the original PlayStation by Naughty Dog and Sony. And once again, just like the other two Crash games, I played this game on the Insane Trilogy. Now, if you haven't noticed the trend by now, I feel that all 4 Crash games go up in quality as you play through them, which is a little unusual when you think about it. Many game series have local fluctuations, or just fluctuations on the whole. But Crash Bandicoot seemed to get better with each individual entry, and once again, Crash 3 Warped is way better than Crash 2. The level design just feels so much more fun. It's just literally just fun. There's so many mechanics that are so fun. There are the levels where you ride on a motorcycle. I mean, it's just crazy. It's outlandish. It's awesome. It's ridiculous. And that's what you're in for with Crash Bandicoot, and you gotta love it. So I definitely enjoyed it. I definitely loved it, and I think most people would. I beat this game on June 21st, 2024 in about 4 hours. Coming in at 16, we have that other Metroid game I was talking about. Drum roll, please, everybody. It is Metroid Fusion. Now, I know, Metroid Fusion is not the most loved of Metroid games, because it's too linear, because it's too... I don't know, actually, I think that's really the main complaint, is it's too linear. And let me tell you something. As a non-Metroid purist, who cares? The game is awesome. It's hilarious. It's not hilarious. It's fun. It's awesome. It's crazy. It's wild. The bosses are so fun. The abilities you unlock are so fun. It's colorful. It looks the best. The pixel art's amazing. The soundtrack is bombing. I don't care if it doesn't have the atmosphere of Super Metroid. Who cares? The game is amazing. So yeah, I think mechanically it's the strongest. It definitely has the best story. And I still think it has a good atmosphere. I just don't think it's the same atmosphere that Super Metroid has. I think it has its own, upbeat atmosphere. But at times it can be quite eerie as well. There's a lot of eerie stuff that happens in this game as well. So it changes moods throughout the game. And I think that's actually makes it a better game than Super Metroid. And it's significantly better because Super Metroid was my number 47 and Fusion's my number 16, so there's quite a difference here. My biggest analogy between Metroid Fusion, Metroid Zero Mission, and Super Metroid is that you get stuck the least in Metroid Fusion, somewhere in between in Zero Mission, and then you get stuck the most in Super Metroid. Here's my analogy. In Super Metroid, this isn't a real example, but this is again just an analogy. There may be a wall that you have to get through, and perhaps there's like some weird coloration or whatever that makes it look different, but generally it looks about the same, and you're supposed to shoot a random wall. There might be a small clue, but nothing too crazy. In Metroid Zero Mission, the whole wall is a different color to make it more obvious. And in Metroid Fusion, there's a giant arrow pointing to the wall. Or there's like an enemy that walks through the wall, or something like that. It's most obvious in Metroid Fusion, and I actually very much like that, because I don't get stuck, I know what I'm doing, and I'm just having fun, going from place to place. It's a bombing game. I think everybody should play it, and I think you should play the other Metroid games too. They're also great. They're all in my top 50. All the ones I've beat are on my top 50, but Fusion is my favorite. It's really not that close. I guess between Fusion and Zero Mission, it's kind of close, but between those two and Super Metroid, it's not close at all. I beat Fusion on February 20th in about 7 hours. Going in at number 15, we're back to the 2D platformers. This time with my personal favorite 2D Mario game, that game being Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, of course, came out on October 20th, 2023, and I 100%ed it for the first time in November. But I've since replayed it, having also 100%ed it on June 6th, 2024, in about 13 hours. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is when Nintendo finally cleaned up their act after making a bunch of the same game, obviously the new Super Mario Bros. Series, which everybody and their grandma has complained about. So I'm not gonna get any more detail on that. All I'll say is that they finally learned, they finally made a creative 2D Mario once again, and it's amazing. It's one of the best 2D platformers there is. Everybody should play it. It's super accessible, it's super new, and I'm sure all of you guys know about it. Many of you have probably played it yourself. But if you haven't, go for it. And you know what? Most 2D platformers, I don't end up 100%ing, but Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I loved the collectibles, I loved the final level. Everybody talks about the final level. It was a little tough. I probably spent about 2 hours my first time doing it. I've heard some stories of people taking up to like 6, but I'm pretty good at 2D platformers, so I did it in probably about 2 hours. But yeah, it could be a little challenging, but the rest of the game is pretty easy. So if you just want to beat the game, it's not too hard. But if you want to actually 100% it, it could be a little challenging for sure. But it's definitely a worthy challenge. Number 14, Super Mario RPG. Originally developed by Square and published by Nintendo in 1996 on the Super Nintendo. I played the Art Piazza remake in 2023. That came out in November 2023, and I had the thing beat before December started. I've since went back and played the beginning parts of the game for YouTube, but I haven't beat it again since. Super Mario RPG is one of the best RPGs I've ever played. One of the big criticisms of Super Mario RPG is that it's easy, and I agree, it is quite easy. That doesn't make it any less fun. The combat with the action commands is very innovative and has spawned 2 full RPG series, even if one of them's kind of died off. And it's an incredible, comedic, hilarious, and downright entertaining video game that everybody should play. If you're a fan of RPGs, if you're a fan of Mario, or even if you're a fan of neither, I suggest checking this out. Coming in at number 13, we have Persona 3 Reload, another JRPG, another turn-based JRPG, but this one's significantly more recent. The first iteration of Persona 3 was Persona 3 Portable, which originally released in 2006, and a console version, Persona 3 FES, coming out in 2007. I, however, played the recent remake that came out in 2024, called Persona 3 Reload. And wow, was it an incredible game. Persona 3 Reload, or actually just the Persona series in general, is known for its element-based combat, its social links, and one of the best gaming loops, where you play for hours and hours, because it's one more calendar day, one more calendar day, one more calendar day, and soon enough you've gone through an entire month in a sitting. The calendar system in this game is probably what I've found to be the best loop in video games. I guess only contested by the loop of playing Animal Crossing every day. But yes, it definitely got me. It sucked me in. I played this game for the first time in November 2024 on Xbox Game Pass. I played quite a bit of it, but I realized that I only had 3 months of Game Pass. I didn't want to spend my entire 3 months playing just one game. So I waited, and when I got a PS5, excuse me, I played Persona 3 Reload in early 2025, and I beat it on April 15th, 2025. Took me about 79 hours. This is definitely a long RPG. I did not finish all the social links, but I did explore the entire tower, so I got one of the good endings. I am super excited for a Persona 4 revival, and I am now a fan of the Persona series. Number 12, Animal Crossing City Folk. This is the other Animal Crossing game that was on this list, and this is my personal favorite, and I know that is a very unpopular opinion. Most people consider this to be one of the worst Animal Crossing games, because it's too much like Wild World. Most people say, oh, well, you know, they didn't add much on top of Wild World, and that's true, they didn't add much. But there's literally nothing missing that was there in Wild World, so it's literally Wild World, but on a console, which I prefer. I know not everybody prefers. And they added a few things, so it's just better Wild World. So I don't understand the argument that it's worse than Wild World. It doesn't even make sense. Anyways, at one point, this game would have probably been in my top 5, even top 3, maybe. Like, I used to really love this game, and I still do. It's just, you know, nowadays, I don't really play a lot of Animal Crossing because it feels like a waste of time when I could be playing games that I, you know, could beat. And since I've played hundreds and hundreds of hours, basically all of them, with the only 2 that I'm probably less than 100 at being the GameCube one and Wild World, it just doesn't seem worth it to be playing a lot of Animal Crossing anymore. This game came out in 2008. I probably played it for the first time in 2014, maybe 2015, and I have probably played a few thousand hours of it, at least 2,000, I would say, over many different towns over the last 10 years. Most recently, about 2 years ago. At number 11, just barely not making its way into the top 10, we have The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Now, perhaps it's a little bit too early to be putting this high on the list, but I don't care, god darn it. This thing could always change, this list could always change. For now, this is how I feel about this game. It was incredible, and I think I've only thought of it as more incredible as time has gone on. The farther and farther I get removed from playing this game, the better and better it is in my mind. Having not really played that many 2D Zeldas, I think it's the best 2D Zelda. And having not played all that many Zeldas in general, I think it's the second best Zelda game. The puzzles were great, the change of pace was nice, I loved placing the blocks and controlling the enemies, and it really felt like the first time in a while that people were this excited about a Nintendo game. there's always people excited about every Nintendo game, but it's one of those things where I would hear people on podcasts sharing experiences and having done things completely differently, similar to the wonder of when The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild came out. Even though I myself wasn't feeling that same joy, I could hear all these people online talking about how they had had these different experiences and stuff, and it felt like Echoes of Wisdom was really 2D Zelda's Breath of the Wild. Personally, I actually enjoy exploring the open world in Echoes of Wisdom more than I do in Breath of the Wild. And that may be blasphemous, but I don't really care. That's how I feel. This game, of course, came out last year in 2024, and I did technically beat it in its launch year. I beat it on December 31st, 2024. I really wanted to get that done before the year was out so I could say I'd beat it in the launch year, and I spent about 19 hours and 45 minutes on it. Alright, everyone, hang in there. We have finally reached the top 10. And at number 10, we have Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. So Crash has finally made his final appearance, and he's just barely crashed into the top 10. See what I did there? This game was released in 2020, years after Crash 3, by Toys for Bob and Activision. Crash 4, once again, and I talk about this every time Crash comes up, this is the fourth time, each game got better than the last. I think the jump between Crash 1 and Crash 2 is probably the most significant, but Crash 2 to Crash 3 is also a decent jump. Crash 3 to Crash 4, I think it's quite a bit closer. I actually contemplated putting them on the list side by side, but there were just so many things that I kept putting in between that eventually they ended up 7 places apart. So, originally though they were going to be right next to each other or within 2. And they ended up not, because so many things went in between. Because there were so many things that I was like, okay, these can't be in the top 10, but they need to be close, right? I think it was that 11 to 20 slot that was a little bit of a struggle to put together. But Crash 4 was originally supposed to be outside the top 10, but I actually had, like, more than 10 things between 11 and 20, and less than 10 things between, like, 1 and 10. So I actually ended up graduating a few of the better things from my 11 to 20 up, and Crash 4 was one of them. Again, Crash 4, it looks way better than Crash 3, even in the Insane trilogy. It has a modernized version, so you don't have to deal with lives if you don't want to. It's a little bit easier, far more approachable, and I think it's a little bit more fun. So yeah, I think the Crash games just got better as they went on. I beat Crash 4 on August 3rd, 2024, in about 8 hours. At number 9, a game that was originally not going to be my top 10 either, and there ended up being more space for, Super Mario 3D World. Of course, this originally came out in 2013 on the Wii U, but has since been ported to Switch in 2021. I played quite a bit of both versions, and I have beat both versions. I have beat the Switch version a few times, most recently in December 2023. Where I 100% of the game except for beating every level with every character. So I did all the green stars, all the stamps, I reached the top of the flagpole on every level, but I didn't play the game 5 times because that's stupid. Super Mario 3D World, while it's very different from every other game in the 3D Mario series, except for 3D Land, which, by the way, I hate 3D Land, so that one's not on this list. Even though it's very different, I think it still has the same idea, like, the levels are very different, but you can feel the same DNA, even in 3D World. And 3D World was the last one, for me, that was incredible, the last 3D Mario game, unless you count Bowser's Fury, which actually I guess I did on this list, so I guess maybe Bowser's Fury is the last one. Either way, I don't really need to say a whole lot about 3D World, I don't think, because I haven't played it in quite a while, but I have a strong opinion of it. It's an easy enough game with some challenge in the later worlds, like after you beat the game. There's some challenge in those special worlds, like this mushroom and the flower world. And of course, the perfect run is sorry, not the perfect run. Perfect run is in Galaxy 2. Champions Road, that's what it's called. Champions Road is kind of challenging. But yes, I think it's an excellent game. I kind of like the whole level-based 3D Mario. I think my favorite style of 3D Mario is the 64 Sunshine style, then the Galaxy style, and then the other extreme is the 3D World style. I think the Galaxy games are kind of somewhere in the middle. Yes, I definitely love Super Mario 3D Land, and again, it wasn't supposed to be in my top 10, but there was space for it, and I was like, sure, I'll put this game in my top 10, so I did. Coming in at number 8, we have Super Mario Galaxy 2. I just talked about this game. This game originally came out on 2010 on the Wii, and actually, I guess I say originally, but it hasn't been re-released since, quite controversially as well. I'll talk more about this game versus Galaxy 1 when I get to Galaxy 1. Spoiler alert, it's above. But I will briefly mention a few of the things that are different. Yoshi is in Galaxy 2 and not in Galaxy 1, and I actually really don't like Yoshi's implementation. Every time I have to use Yoshi in Galaxy 2, I really don't like it. I think Mario actually feels far less fluid to control by himself than with Yoshi. That said, the world's a little bit more colorful in Galaxy 2. I don't think the soundtrack's quite as strong in Galaxy 2, but some of the levels are stronger. There's a lot more content, because in Galaxy 1, you know, you got all 120 stars, and they're like, okay, now play Super Luigi Galaxy and get all 120 stars. I'm like, that's stupid, nobody ever does that. But in Galaxy 2, you can go get, like, green stars and that, and then eventually you can go do the perfect run, and I did that. The perfect run, it was pretty tough. It's tougher than Champions Road in 3D World for sure. I spent a few hours on it, good few hours on it. Yeah, I 100% of this game last year, actually. Last year was the first time I played this game. I beat this game on April 7th with 100% completion in about 31 hours, 45 minutes. And yeah, it's a great game. It's a great 3D Mario game, but there are stronger ones still on this list. Coming in at number 7, we have Kirby's Adventure, the second ever Kirby game. Released in 1993 by HAL Laboratory and Nintendo on the NES, of all things. And as much as I love this game, and it's my second favorite 2D platformer, probably, I think. Based on this list it is. I think that's probably accurate, but I could definitely see some of these things on this list changing over time. It still feels weird to me having an NES game on especially my top 10. That feels a little weird. I don't know about it, but to be honest, it is an incredible 2D platformer, and honestly, Kirby's Adventure feels more like a Super Nintendo game than it does an NES game, which makes sense when you think about it, because it came out 2 years into the Super Nintendo generation. And so, like I was talking about with Super Mario Bros. 3 earlier, they had learned the hardware, they knew what they were doing, they knew how to optimize things. And for HAL Laboratory, they had gone from the Game Boy to the NES at the end of its life. So they actually had a lot of advantage here in making a game that looked incredible, ran incredible, and they didn't have to make a whole lot of sacrifices with design elements and things. So this is my favorite 2D Kirby game, it's my second favorite 2D platformer, and it's one of my favorite platformers in general. It's an incredible game. It's not something I hear people talk about a lot, but I think everybody should probably try it. It's incredible. I played this on NES Switch Online, but it's an easy enough game that you could easily beat this on the NES without save states. I originally played this game on May 8th, 2024, in about 2.5 hours. Barely not making it in the top 5. At number 6, I have Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Donkey Kong making his final appearance out here. And this is the 2D platformer that is highest on my list. That may change at some point, but for right now, this is how I'm feeling. Tropical Freeze, which originally released in 2014 on the Wii U by Retro Studios and Nintendo, and then it got ported to the Switch in 2018 with the new funky mode. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is the best Donkey Kong Country game. I had heard people say that for a long time, and I was skeptical because I already loved the original 3, but I hadn't played Returns and Tropical Freeze. But after playing those two games, they hold up right there with the original trilogy, and I really hope that we get a third Donkey Kong Country game in this modern trilogy by Retro Studios. I really hope, but it's literally been 11 years now since the last one, so I'm skeptical, but that would be fantastic. I would be overjoyed if we could get another Donkey Kong Country game. But as it currently stands, this is the latest one, and it looks incredible, it runs incredible, the underwater swimming is incredible, the level design is incredible, the boss fights are incredible, pretty much everything, the theming is incredible. Almost everything about this 2D platformer is all you could ask for. It's an incredible game. Everybody should play it. Incredible. I beat this game on June 26th, 2024 in about 6.5 hours. And here we are. We're in the top 5. My top 5 video games of all time. All 5 of these, I will say 5 through 2, it was a bit tricky to order 5 through 2. Number 1 was a no-brainer, but 5 through 2, it was a little difficult to come up with it. But I've settled on this. I think it's a pretty good order. I could see things moving around in the future, but for now, my number 5 is Super Mario Galaxy. Originally released in 2007 on the Wii, and ported over to the Switch in the 3D All-Stars Collection in 2020. Personally, I don't like the version in the 3D All-Stars Collection, so I still play the Wii version. I 100%ed this game, if you want to call it that, because I didn't do Luigi Galaxy, but I got all 120 stars. I 100% of this game most recently on February 14th, 2024, in about 22 hours, 45 minutes. Super Mario Galaxy is an incredible game. I know, I keep saying incredible, but really, these are incredible games. Immaculate. We'll call it immaculate. It's a masterpiece, honestly. Again, the level design, fantastic. I think there's levels that are better in Galaxy 2. I think there's levels that are better in Galaxy 1. But overall, I don't like the inclusion of Yoshi. And I think Galaxy 2 goes on a little long when you're trying to get all the stars, because the green stars are a little annoying and tedious, and the comet medals are a little annoying and tedious. Galaxy 1, as long as you're not going for Luigi Galaxy, is far less annoying and far less tedious. And I think I'm also just a little more nostalgic for it, because I played Galaxy for the first time when I was probably 3 or 4, but I played Galaxy 2 for the first time last year. So, you know, it's a bit different. Galaxy 2's fighting an uphill battle here, but I don't think it wins. Everybody says it, the hub world is better in Galaxy 1. I don't think it's a huge deal. I mean, the Galaxy 2 hub world's fine enough, but it is still better in Galaxy 1, that's worth noting. Also, Galaxy 1 has the greatest soundtrack of any video game ever. It's not even close. Well, I say it's not even close. There are some that are kind of close up there. I would say DKC Tropical Freeze is pretty close up there. Some of the other Mario games are pretty close up there. There's some great soundtracks out there, but for me, Super Mario Galaxy, it's unmatched. I've probably 100%ed this game 3 times, and then I've beaten it probably 7 or 8. Whereas with Galaxy 2, I've only beaten and 100%ed it 1 time. Number 4, we have Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. This game originally came out in 2004 by Intelligent Systems and Nintendo on the GameCube, and was remade just last year in May 2024 on the Switch. I've never played the GameCube version. I've wanted to for years and years, but it was always way too expensive, so I just hoped that one day it got remade, and sure enough, around the 20th anniversary, they remade it, and I played the remake, and oh my gosh, I loved it even more than I thought I would. If I had to make a guess, before I played Thousand Year Door, I probably would have said that would have been in my top 20, but it was actually in my top 5. So, Thousand Year Door, it's an incredible game. It's my favorite RPG. Of the successors to Mario RPG, right? Because Mario RPG is an incredible game. I put it at 14. Obviously, its most direct successor was Paper Mario, and I've tried to play some Paper Mario, but I never quite finished it. I'm probably going to go back to it at some point. But Thousand Year Door, I think, is leagues better than Super Mario RPG, or than Paper Mario, or than Superstar Saga, or any of the other Mario and Luigi's. It's the best Mario RPG for sure, and I think it's the best RPG. Now, that said, there's a lot of RPGs I still need to play. Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, those ones could come in and knock this further down, possibly. But as it currently stands, as a guy who hasn't played a ton of RPGs, this is my favorite one, and it probably helps that I like Mario. But honestly though, this is an incredibly well-made game. The action commands, like I said with Mario RPG, they're incredible. I think Mario RPG is probably a little funnier, but Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door is definitely still funny. It's very funny still. It's just, I do think Super Mario RPG is a little funnier. But I don't know, it's kind of hard to say. Overall, phenomenal game. I think everybody ought to play it. It's on Switch now, there's no excuse not to. There was an excuse not to, because it was so expensive, but now that it's on Switch, there's very little reason not to. And now for the top 3. Once again, a game that was supposed to be around 5, and I ended up boosting up a little bit right at the end. The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword. This game was originally released in 2011 by Nintendo on the Wii, and has since been remade in 2021 on the Switch. And I played the Switch version, and I played it without motion controls. I used the 2 joysticks, the right one as the sword. And I think that's a totally viable way to play the game, and I think it's the best way to play the game. I know Skyward Sword is controversial, but man, the dungeons were amazing. The boss fights were amazing. The story was amazing. The music was amazing. I loved this game. I really did. And I really don't understand the hate for it. I do think, though, that as time's gone on, people have started to warm up to it a little bit, which is good, But It definitely gets more hate than it deserves. I think Skyward Sword is an incredible game. I think it's the best Zelda game by a long way. However, I haven't beat Ocarina of Time. Maybe I need to go back to that. Maybe I need to play that again. I did get pretty far though, and I still was liking Skyward Sword better. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe one day it'll be topped. You know, the thing is, like, my favorite Mario game, I guess, not to spoil anything, my favorite Mario game is 64. That's never going to be topped for me. Never. Probably never, right? But Skyward Sword could be topped. We'll see. But I think it could be topped. There's definitely hope of it being topped. So it's a less stable spot, even though it's up here at number 3. So this could fall. This could fall. But for now, I'm putting it at number 3 because this game was incredible. I loved it. I think about it literally every day. Literally every day. There's times when I think about a section of that game or a boss fight in that game or so, like, honestly, it was amazing. I need to replay it on live stream probably pretty soon here because it's been over a year now since I played it. So I probably need to play it again because I love this game so much. It's just a little long, so it can be hard to just hop right back into. I beat this game on April 30th, 2024 in 61 hours. It took me a very long time. But I did a lot of extra stuff, and I also hadn't beaten a 3D Zelda game at that point, so I didn't totally know what I was doing. My second favorite game of all time is Super Mario Sunshine. And no, I promise I'm not just trying to make the most controversial list of all time. I know I put Breath of the Wild at 33, City Folk in my top 15, Super Mario World above Super Mario Bros. 3, and Skyward Sword in the top 3, and now I'm pulling this. I know what you're thinking, I know. But Mario Sunshine is incredible. It is so fun. Honestly, like, there are few games, there's one, literally that's why it's number 2, that are so fun. Like, honestly, I can't even articulate how hilarious of a time it is to play Mario Sunshine. Sure, there are bruises everywhere. This game feels like it's bleeding out at times, with the weird glitches, the strange bugs, all these things. I get it, but man, this game is awesome. It is so well themed. It's a 3D Mario game with tight platforming. It's so fun. And the camera is better than 64, so we've got to give it something, right? No, but seriously, this game is amazing. Anybody who doesn't give it the credit it deserves, I understand. I understand the people that have a problem with this game. I understand the people that think the game is too hard. I understand all of the critiques for Mario Sunshine. But Mario Sunshine is amazing. You guys are all crazy. Mario Sunshine's awesome. There are a few stars that really get on my nerves. Pachinko Machine, Lily Pad Ride, the Red Chain Chomp in Pianta Village. You know, there's a few things. But I really love the secret levels without FLUDD. I really love using FLUDD as well. It's kind of funny. Some of my favorite levels are when you can't use FLUDD, and some of my favorite moments in the game are when you're using FLUDD. And I love Corona Mountain. I mean, honestly, lots of things about this game. I just love the game. It's a fantastic game. And I'm probably going to live stream it again now that I've talked about it. But that's enough about Mario Sunshine. Let's get to our number 1. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, unless, of course, you skipped to see my top 5 or my top 10. But nobody would ever do that because they would know that skipping around in the video promotes YouTube not to recommend my videos to people, and it decreases my watch time hours. But no, I'm sure nobody would ever do something like that, right? Please watch the whole video, please. Anyways, the rest of you have been waiting a long time to hear this. It's been a very long video. I know. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. My number 1 game of all time is, drumroll please, drumroll. Hotel Mario. Released in 1994 for the Philips CDI, this is a puzzle game with a large focus on the narrative and, okay, alright, fine. Hotel Mario is not my number 1 game of all time. It's actually Super Mario 64. Super Mario 64 is a masterpiece, and I'm pretty convinced that no game will ever top it. I can maybe Super Mario Sunshine will be topped, maybe I'll get a new number 2, maybe a new number 3. I don't think I'll ever have a new number 1, for as long as I'm making these lists, and for as long as I'm alive. Because Super Mario 64, I do think a better game could possibly be made, but I don't think it ever will. And I think if it is, I will probably still like Mario 64 better because at this point, I've 100%ed the thing like 25 times. Probably not actually, probably like 15, but still 100%ed it like tons of times. And I've, been playing it nearly my entire life. I'm very nostalgic for it. So even if something did come around that might be a little better, I'm not sure I would know it. It's a bit of a scary position to be in. However, it's an amazing game. I 100%ed it most recently, probably a few weeks ago. It was in May sometime. So I guess actually more like a month ago. But this game has some of the best level design of any game. Obviously, some of the best visuals. No, I'm kidding. Not the best visuals. Who cares about visuals, man? The mechanics, the gameplay, the levels are amazing. They're amazing. Just about every star, there's a few, but just about every star is fun to get, or at least feels worthwhile in some way. Whether it's just to get to the 120 stars, or whether because it's actually fun and challenging. Obviously, every time I play this game, it becomes less challenging, and I find more and more strats to break the game and get stars faster, but that's just part of the fun. Super Mario 64 is a masterpiece. Odyssey has nothing on it, and no 3D Mario game probably ever will. I've probably played 1,500 hours of this game, probably less than a couple games I've played. I've probably played more Minecraft, I've probably played more Animal Crossing City Folk, but those are a bit different, right? You spend longer sessions on those. There's no such thing as beating that. I guess you could beat Minecraft, but you can't beat Animal Crossing. So those naturally, I think you spend a little bit more time on because they're online or they're not a beatable game. But otherwise, I think this is probably my third most played game, and it's my number one favorite. Alright, thanks for listening. Of course, if you want to watch this as a video version, I'm not really sure why you would if you just watched the whole thing through on audio, but, if you wanted to watch this in a video version instead, you can do that. It is up on my YouTube channel. The intro and the outro are a little different, but otherwise, the main substance of the video are the exact same. And with all that said, thank you all for watching. Thank you all who listened to the podcast. I'm very happy to have you all, and I figured this is a cool little thing that I could do every now and then when I put out a big video on the main channel, is to put it out on the podcast feed as well. Thanks all for watching, subscribe, follow the podcast on Blue Sky, all that great stuff, and I will see you all on the next episode of Not Just Nintendo. Goodbye.